Lucy is not a missing link. In Africa, in some ash, layer of hardened volcanic ash, they found perfectly normal human footprints. Perfectly normal human. But the ash had already been dated at 3.75 million years old. They said, well, it can't be human. Russell Tuttle, University of Chicago, studied 70 people that go barefoot all their life. They never wear shoes. He looked at their footprints that they left in the ash and in the mud. He tried them in all sorts of things. And he said the footprints of these people alive today are exactly like the ones found in the ash in Laetoli. Then he said, if the footprints were not known to be so old, we would readily conclude that they were made by a member of our own genus. In other words, if we didn't know better, we'd think they were human. You know, folks, if you find normal human footprints in the ash, what should you conclude? A human walked there. I don't have a problem with that. In National Geographic, Mary Leakey said the form of his foot was exactly the same as ours. Weight-bearing pressure patterns in the prints resemble human ones. Footprints so very much like our own. Well, maybe a human made them. But see, it's too old. This is where an example where the evolutionary theory is a hindrance to common sense research. And then in National Geographic, they put dark-skinned, ape-like creatures on top of these footprints. Not one single bone was found. Now, if you found normal human footprints in the ash, why would you put a half-man, half-monkey creature on top? This is for propaganda value, folks. This is not science. And why did they add the toe separation? They did that on purpose, the artist did, to make it look a little more ape-like. See, humans have your toe, your big toe lined up with the rest of your toes. Apes have their big toe sticking off to the side. They can grab a tree branch with their foot, with their big toe on one side, other toes on the other side. You can't do that. If you'd like to practice, I suggest you start with a low branch to try it on, okay? Because it's going to be hard. Well, in National Geographic, they put an article about 4 million years of bipedalism, walking on two legs. They show all the missing links, but look what they did with the feet. They made them all look human. This is a lie, folks. This is propaganda. And if you're spending your money on National Geographic, I recommend you quit. Give it to a missionary instead. Okay? The Australopithecines are more different, according to Charles Oxnard, who studied them for 16 years. He said they're more different than African apes and humans in most features than the latter are from each other. They can't be a missing link. There could be some Australopithecines still alive. Upright walking monkey down in Sumatra, down near Vietnam. Peking man was in the textbooks for years as evidence for evolution. All evidence disappeared during World War II. But they found in this cave a bunch of monkey skulls that were smashed and a bunch of human tools. Somebody said, wow, look at this. These monkeys are learning to make tools. Oh, and they're practicing on their head. Yeah. Oh, that one works good. Yeah. Duh. No. In some cultures, they like to eat monkey brains. You know, have you seen Indiana Jones? They also found 10 human remains in the same cave. They didn't tell you about that, though. Peking man was a place where people would go to have a feast and eat monkey brains, is my theory. Australopithecine is not a missing link. Homo erectus is in the textbooks as evidence. It used to be called Java man, originally called Pithecanthropus erectus. Now it's called Homo erectus. The evolutionist said it's 500,000 years old. It was found by a Dutch anatomist who believed in evolution and had gone to look for missing links. He hired a bunch of convicts to go out and find him some bones. He said, you guys go out in the woods and find me some bones. We've got to find some missing links. He has no idea where they came from. These convicts would bring him back bones, and he would put, oh, that's part human, part ape. He was looking desperately to prove the evolution theory. Dr. Dubois had gone to Java to look for missing links. He took these convicts out there, and they came back with all kinds of bones. He took a human, 3 human teeth, a human thigh bone, and an ape skull cap, and put them all together and said he found the missing link. He hid the fact that he found 2 normal human skulls in the same area. He put them under his bed, under the floorboards. Kind of like Edgar Allan Poe, you know, Telltale Heart? Oh, no, this was Telltale Head. So he lied, all right? There's not enough evidence from fossils to answer when, where, and how Homo sapiens emerged. There's no evidence for human evolution. This guy says, fossil evidence of human evolution is fragmentary and open to various interpretations. Fossil evidence of chimpanzee evolution is absent altogether. Well, I agree. Dr. Dr. Marvin Lubenow has a great book called Bones of Contention. If you want to study all of the so-called cavemen, that's the one I recommend. Or if you've got a friend going to school being taught anthropology about all the cavemen, if you want to save them from a lot of headache and learning false things, get them this book for a birthday present or something. Excellent gift to give to anybody you know going to college and learning all this junk about man coming from an ape-like ancestor. The only missing link I've been able to find is modern man. Something is missing between his ears. These guys spend all their free time digging in the dirt looking for bones. My dog did the same thing. But we didn't make the taxpayers pay his salary while he did it. Florida has a law that requires textbooks to be accurate. So does California. So does Texas. So does Wisconsin. So does Alabama. Most states have laws requiring textbooks to be accurate. Minnesota has a law that says a teacher shall not deliberately suppress or distort subject matter. Yeah, sure, hey there, fella, you betcha. Well, here's a textbook used in Minnesota, and it says that all of these ones in the circle here have been proven wrong, but they're still using them as evidence for evolution. They're lying to the kids. And they're used to call modern man Homo sapien. Today they're calling us Homo sapiens sapien. Wow, what does that mean? Well, sapien means wise. So today we're the wise man. That's interesting. You know, the Bible says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Now, if you believe your ancestors were a monkey, you're a fool. There's no question that some of my ancestors probably swung by their necks, but none of them swung by their tails. Yeah. Now look, if you find a fossil in the dirt, all you know is it died. You don't know it had any kids. You sure can't prove it had different kids. And why would you think a bone you found in the dirt can do something animals today cannot do? Which is produce something other than their kind. Hey, did you know chimpanzees are still having babies? Why don't they make another human and let's watch it this time? See, evolution only happens in the imagination, never in reality. Where does the Stone Age fit into the Bible? Well, I think right after the flood, people got off the ark and they faced a real hostile climate. Things had changed. Noah couldn't tell his grandson to go to the hardware store and get him a shovel. There were no hardware stores. You would have to make stone tools because that you can make pretty quick. It takes a while to dig the iron ore out of the ground and melt it down and make the steel tools, so meanwhile you're going to starve to death. They probably had a Gilligan's Island situation for the first few generations. Just, a lot of smart folks with not much technology. You'd have to rebuild civilization. So they would make stone tools, and there are cultures today still making stone tools. I think during the time right after the flood, there would be an ice age lasting for several hundred years. We covered that on video 6. During that time, people would wander around following herds of animals, and you don't want to carry a pile of rocks with you. So you wait till you catch up with the herd, and then you make your tools right on the spot. You kill the animals and leave the tools behind. You follow the herd someplace else. That way you're not carrying 50 pounds of rocks with you. It's quicker to make a new one after you get there. So a lot of times they find these crude-looking instruments, and they'll say, wow, this is an older society. No, these people are in a bigger hurry. That's what it means. And if they have really neat-looking arrowheads, they probably had more time to sit there and shape them. Nothing to do with intelligence. But not only were the people living longer before the flood, animals were living longer also, and growing much bigger, I believe. This is a hornless rhinoceros, 18 feet tall. Some people say, oh, that's a prehistoric animal. No, there's no such thing as prehistoric. Did you know that word was added to the dictionary about 100 years ago? I got some old dictionaries and looked up prehistoric. 1766, it wasn't there. No such thing as prehistoric. I got a dictionary from 1860. There was no prehistoric in there. There's no such thing as prehistoric. You see, there are things that are pre-flood, but that's not prehistoric. Pre-flood, things were different. I think there was a canopy of water that increased air pressure, which would make animals grow much larger, especially insects.